Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the third episode of the Pit Boss podcast. I'm Bryer. This is Spicy. I want to go ahead and give a heads up of Spicy's microphone. He just moved to college and he didn't bring it with him, so congrats to him moving to college. But sadly, go ahead and talk. Let him hear
Well, this is the headphones I will have for
it.
this episode, but I have my brother's coming down for a friend's wedding, and he came coming down a day early because he misses me already. So he's bringing down some stuff I forgot to pack.
Tonight or today, whenever you're listening on tap, we got the Knoxville Nationals we're going to talk about. We got the Cup race in Indy, and we're going to talk about US24. But also, I just got to say, we have a great guest coming on, Snyder Jr. out of Rising Sun, Maryland. He was fun to talk to last night. Um, we even got a little extra too. After the interview, he showed us his trophy collection, talked to us a little bit. I enjoyed his company. Spice, you got any thoughts on the interview, man?
Oh, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. If you want to talk about a nice guy that will just talk your ear off, Steven Snyder is the man. I've never talked to him before in my life before yesterday, and literally, he was so great at talking. He was able to keep a conversation very interesting, very intriguing. Kept bringing you into it as well.
So we'll get to this later. I thought it was funny, but anyway, let's get into it. Knoxville Nationals, night one. David Gravel's fast time, and but Gravel um, had contact with another car in the heat and ended up not being able to run his heat. So Gravel didn't even make it out of the heat. Bacon wins it. Jason Burbank, Schellenberg, and the quickest chicken, Chase Randall, transfer. Um, I think the biggest thing of the night is Peck's big wreck.
Oh
Peck,
yeah, that was a nasty wreck for. I saw the clip of it, and then I think it was the official Dirt Vision clip, but they had it slowed down and everything, and even it slowed down looks like that one really hurt. Like definitely one that you would have to sit out
yeah,
2-3 weeks because you got a concussion or something from.
yeah. So Peck, it was actually a hit with Hodenshield, but he takes a tumble. But Shots, I believe, takes it, wins the first night with Randall and Hodenshield behind him. We're gonna go to night two. Rico Abreu quick time. Rico didn't even make it out of the heat. He finished where he started, which was fifth. Sweet went 8 to fourth in his heat, which transferred him. Shane Golobic, how do you say his name? Golobic? Golobic?
I'm not one of the greatest at pronouncing names. I would say Golobic,
Golobic.
though.
He was a no call with an engine. Um, Hickman, heat 5, he had the pole, but he had a hood vent out. So he pulled off, didn't even run that. Rico wins the B main and gets transferred. But Macedo ends up winning the night two, with Larson and Basin behind him. Night three, you had Aaron Reitzel. He was the first quickest in Group 1. And then Scott Bogicki, whatever you want to say, he was fastest in Group 2. Not really much happens in the heat except for Thomas Jr. was penalized in Heat 3. I think he ended up not transferring out of the heats because of it. Scroll on down, McKinney Hassey, and Goldsberry got together on the backstretch. Goldsberry gets sideways. I believe that was a decent wreck too, but he came out okay. A main, Reitzel and David Gravel had a battle. If my notes are correct, David Gravel won by .107 of a second, which is a very close margin. Going on to night four, those are just the mains. So you have the E main, the C main, B main. B main, Justin Peck transferred out, Parker Price Miller, Brian Brown, Hotta Shield, all transferred out. I don't think anybody made a soup run. But in the A main, you saw Kyle Larson lead all 50 laps. David Gravel was second, Donnie Schatz was third, but Larson $185,000 win on a Saturday night. It's his second win for Knoxville Nationals. He gets on a plane, and then 4 hours later, he gets announced that, or he shows his cars. Did you see his cars for Indy Car and NASCAR?
Oh, yeah, I did. Because, I'm right here in Indy, so it was actually revealed, and it was on one of the big screens in downtown.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, I don't remember what building it was on, but it was on one of them. And that thing looked slick, I think.
My fiance and I went down to the race on Sunday, but they didn't really say anything until like 10:30. Like, hey, we're revealing these cars now. And so like I ended up getting to see them, but I didn't get to see them revealed. I was one of the lucky people that got one of the shirts too. I don't know if you saw that they had the shirts for sale, but I went and grabbed one of those. That leads us in to US24. So I'm just gonna say this: Friday, I wasn't there. I don't know how you can talk about Friday a little bit. Um, so that's all you. Go ahead, start talking about Friday.
Well, for Friday, typically on these Friday night races, you don't get a whole lot of cars because, people are getting off of work and they don't want to, get their car and drive to the track and spend all night there. But yesterday, or not yesterday, Friday, they had a special thing since the Saturday race was the Carroll Smith Memorial. They were doing a thing where the highest finisher in those A mains that didn't make it into the Carroll Smith race, they were automatically going to be put in starting at the tail. So then I believe that was 22nd for most of the classes.
Hartzell
And,
was he was 11th, wasn't he, or something, and he got it.
yeah, he was the A class non-wing recipient of that. I call it the mercy roll, but
But yeah, Friday you saw Brexton Bush, big name for a lot of people. Kyle Busch's son. He got the win in junior sprints. Cale Cannon got the win in restricted. That bumps his lead up a lot. Was it Friday was points, right?
I do believe it was a points race in that restrictor feature. I don't want to diminish Cale Cannon here, but I honestly don't know if he would have won that if a lapped car didn't slow down the leader.
Yeah.
Because that lapped car moved up in front of the leader, and Cale Cannon was right behind him and was able to sneak through the other line and, well, stay out in front.
Right time, right place, right? Um,
Yep.
in here, this was your notes. You put Frank Flood schooled Wyatt Miller on a rubbered up track. Explain that situation.
Okay, so first off, I want to say that A wing feature was actually fucking balls to the wall awesome. Because, the big name, Frank Flood, you would expect him to come out here and just whack the floor against some local guys.
He was not in his own equipment, though. I will say that he was in Dysinger equipment, which is still pretty good,
Yeah,
but it's not his own
yeah,
equipment. So,
but nowhere near as good as, per se, his own. But Wyatt Miller, a young and upcoming kid, they got up to the lead pretty early. I think Frank Flood had the lead there for the majority. And then Wyatt Miller eventually was able to pass him around the top. And then later, we saw the rubber start coming in there on the bottom. And Frank Flood just kind of, like I said, he kind of took him to school when it rubbered up.
yeah.
Because there ain't no one better running rubber than, I don't want to say the older generation of drivers, but these older drivers definitely really know how to work their way around the rubber and just kind of showed them a thing or two about how to run it, and eventually it was ending up winning it.
A non-wing, you had Cole Kirkman. Seniors was Russ Gamester, and then Cole Bodine, a big name around here at 24. He led every lap of his race, every lap of his race in Outlaw non-wing. Let's talk about Saturday. We had Pidge on here last week, and he talked about the Carroll Smith Memorial. 189 cars, 189 entries. Excuse me, 189 entries. That is crazy.
That's a new record for 24, isn't it, on total car count?
By almost 30.
Oh, ooh,
The last one I believe was 160, 165 maybe. and that was the record before, but they smashed it Saturday. I'm not gonna lie, like
Yeah.
I felt claustrophobic in the pits. It was just jam packed. Everybody and anybody that was around was there. It was awesome to see. The crowd was packed. Like it's just I got goosebumps honestly because I went in the infield a little bit and did some film for Dirt2Media, but like damn, a Saturday night in August and they're just packed. Um, but yeah, I mean, sorry to get a little emotional, but man, it was just awesome to see. Like everything, Deb and Jim, like they put so much work in it, and they're getting it back this year. Like it's
Oh
honestly
yeah,
amazing.
most definitely. They're
Um,
definitely getting all that money back they invested into the track. 'Cause I know, like those backstretch grandstands, they spent a lot of money on that, and the lights that they got, I believe, from Kokomo that are in the infield. I mean, they're making that back in twofold probably with all these entries.
I believe they're trying to get a new like a freaking shack, like a food thing. I can't think of the name of it. I'm dumb right now. Concession
Team
stand.
Shack.
They're talking about getting a new concession stand. So I mean, it's just awesome to see. Saturday you had Preston Bush again, doubles up on the weekend. Um, he's just fast. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, there ain't
Restricted,
much to it.
yeah, just I mean, in junior sprints, if you're the fastest car, you're gonna win. Plain and simple. Junior sprints or restricted was Colette Destero. Um, you said she moved up from junior sprints, right?
Yeah, this
This,
one I believe I'm not 100% sure,
and this is her
but
first
I'm
win in
like
restricted.
90. Yes, I do believe it is her first win, at least at 24. I'm not
That's
sure how much she per se travels around,
yeah,
but I do know it's her first restricted win at 24.
that's good to hear. A non-wing, another double up, Cole Kirkman. We had three double ups. Cole Bodine wins it from six, so he took his knowledge from old times and just centered, didn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
he's definitely the car to beat in Outlaw. Like that Friday night, he led all laps. There was no one that was ever going to touch him. So
mhm.
I can only imagine that was probably the story for Saturday. He started sixth, so he didn't start pole like he did Friday. But I'm going to guess he just went out there and put on a goddamn show.
Yeah. Seniors was Dirk Hempworth. And then this was the controversy of the weekend at 24. Aiden Dice gets the win, but Frank Flood had damage on his wing and was trying to, in my understanding, was trying to fix it or figure something out with his wing. They DQ'd him for adjusting it under caution and under red. So, I mean, I understand if Frank Flood's frustrated, but also at the same time, I feel like he kind of has to understand where Deb and Jim is coming from. Like they've been very good at not having a gray line on rules. I will say that. Like they're either you're here or you're not. And I mean, hats off to Jeb and I keep saying Deb and Jim for that. But just sucks for Frank. Was he leading at the time?
Uh, well, I'm guessing if he got DQ'd, I'm guessing he must have crossed the line first,
Mm.
but eventually then after the race got disqualified. Since I was not there, I don't know. I'm just using information that
Um,
I'm making an informed guess.
I'm gonna wrap myself out. I was not there all night Saturday. I was there for the majority of the first part. I did what I needed to do, and I went home and went to bed because I had to get up early for NASCAR. Talking about NASCAR, let's lead into the Brickyard weekend. Indy Car, Scott Dixon. I did see that Scott Dixon was more of a fuel strategist on Saturday. He won, in my opinion, with fuel. I did see Pato Award was third, and then Real was second, right?
Yeah, so basically, outside of the first, I believe, 7 or 8 laps, right after that caution, it was either Scott Dixon or Graham Rahal in the lead. I mean, whichever, I believe Rahal led until he pitted, then it was Dixon, and then it was Dixon till he pitted, then it was Rahal till he pitted. It was just those two were so incredibly fast. And then those last 10 laps, it was an amazing battle trying to watch Ray Hall catch up to Dixon. And, he eventually just ran out of time. But I do believe if there's maybe 5 or so more laps, Ray Hall might have been able to get him because he had like 7 laps fresher tires.
Yeah.
And we all know in racing like that, that really matters a lot.
I did enjoy the middle race. Like I watched a little bit of it, but just the pit stops and the pit strategy that they had, it was interesting. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Um, let's move on to the NASCAR side. This is going to be a little bit more longer just because I like NASCAR and I think we're getting into the nitty gritty of NASCAR. IRP. Um, this is the time where trucks start their playoffs. Majeski dominates IRP, led over 180 laps. Um, he, I think that it was the most laps led. Shane Van Giesenberg, he ran it for the first time as an asphalt oval. I think he was 21st. Not people don't give him enough credit there. I think that's a lot coming from super track or supercars, and then only dirt oval to do that in NASCAR. I think that's good. Let's talk about IRP for a minute though. Like they put on great shows.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, especially because I like to call them little bull rings.
Yeah.
So, they aren't the biggest tracks, but they're just big enough to put on a hell of a show.
Could
Because,
you?
you're going maybe too wide
Yeah.
and pushing the absolute limit.
Could you imagine Xfinity cars?
Oh, that would be a hell of a show to go
That would be
watch.
a heck of a show. I know they used to have them there. I understand trying to get them back with the double. That leads us into Xfinity. Ty Gibbs was in a battle with AJ late. AJ had a tight car. He did not know if he had a chance to go by him. He tried it, didn't get by him, so Ty Gibbs gets the win. There's rain in the race. Creed, did you see Creed's late penalty?
I did not see his penalty at all. I was at dinner at the time because it was on the TV.
Creed had a late penalty that gave him an EOL. He came back and was eighth. Finished eighth.
Ooh,
Finished eighth in the race. So I mean,
that's impressive.
if I remember right, it was like 15ish to go, and he was up to eighth. Um,
That is impressive. Like, truly, that is really impressive.
right now you have Creed on the cut line, uh, with Xfinity. Clearman is 17 points back from Creed. Jones is 65 points back. So Brandon Jones and Clearman are trying to fight for that battle with Sheldon Creed. Let's go to Cup, man. This was something that every time like you have this where it's like an underdog is gonna win, you're just like, man, that'd be nice to see them win. But no underdog has really been that dominant in a race. Michael McDowell takes the win with his second win ever, and I don't know if you listen to Actions Detrimental, or I don't know if you see any of the posts. Do you see any of Denny Hamlin's posts or anything?
I've not seen any of Denny Hamlin's posts. I just saw the two wrecks that happened.
Well, Denny Hamlin actually kind of called out McDowell and was like, Chase Elliott's the best road course racer in NASCAR history. McDowell clapped back and said, hey, I know you like statistics and all, but technically I am the best NASCAR racer on road courses for the next gen car. So if you look, he has earned the most points out of all the drivers in the next gen car on road courses, which is crazy to think. You don't think about McDowell. If you think about it, a couple of years ago, he was a start and park driver. He'd start, get the money, and then park. And just to see him in the chase for the second time in 3 years now is just crazy. Chase Elliott did close a gap on him. It was like 2.3 and ended up being like point 0.3, point 0.5 something in that area. But again, McDowell, I read on Twitter like he wasn't pushing. He was just gonna make Chase do the work, and if he had to, he had to, but he didn't. Um,
He was just
I
probably trying to maintain,
yeah,
save the tires for
that
when you needed it.
that was his goal. Let's go. My favorite driver, the guy that I love to cheer for at every race, Justin Haley had a shit end of the stick last week. Like
Oh,
the
purely.
third lap, Joey Logano, dude, forces one of the worst maneuvers on the track. Like you're going into the kink, everybody knows that the kink is not the place to pass. Justin gave him plenty of room, and he just skips across the kink. No control of his car, takes out Justin right into the tires. Man, I was so pissed. This is one of the few times you'll hear me cuss, but like I was flipping him off in the stands, and my fiance's like, "Yeah, you really think he's gonna see it?" I said, "I don't care. It makes me feel better." So just the like third lap, why do that, Joey? And then he forces another thing like that same restart and spins. It's like that's what you get, dude. Come on. Um,
Yeah, like at at the road course, that turns 5 and 6. Even that when we watched the Indy Car and Xfinity race, they weren't stupid enough to try to push
no.
it too wide. And like you said, Haley, he left him enough room, but Joey Logano instead decided to go over the bumps on turn 6, which actually launched his car in the air. And when it's in the air, you really ain't got no control. So it was just a complete bonehead move on his end because that just, took someone else out that was
I mean,
doing just fine. It wasn't being dirty or anything.
no, he started 15th too for Justin, and for Justin starting 15th, like colleague, that was a good win for them. But just have it ripped away. That was the only natural caution. That was the only caution in the whole race. NASCAR had the stage cautions out for road courses. So for 80 some, I think it was 82 green flag laps. That was the only caution. Um, Suarez had a bad pit that injured him. I don't know if you see it, but on Twitter I follow this person who does the like if median times were a thing, like they based it on median times, and he was first. Daniel Suarez would have been first if it was off of median time. So Daniel Suarez had good pace, just bad luck.
Yeah, and
So
there really isn't nothing he can do for that because that's
no.
something he puts into other people's hands, and well, he has to expect them to perform at their highest level every single time he rolls into that pit.
And if you remember right, like one of the first pit stops, his team actually got him the lead back. So to lose it off of that was probably really upsetting to him. Let's go to the playoffs. Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski are in right now by points, but as we sit, there still are two possible winners that could be in. So one of them are guaranteed in right now. But you have Bubba that has not had a win, who is on the cut line as well. Behind Bubba, you have Suarez, which we're going to another road course, Watkins Glen. So who knows how Suarez will do there. Then you have Gibbs at 49, and then you have Chase Elliott, who needs a win to play in the playoffs. He's 80 back along with Bowman. So there is still a good playoff battle going on. You have Watkins Glen, where Chase Elliott could easily win. And then you have Daytona, where Bubba Wallace could easily get a win. So with that, I mean, there leaves one spot for Kevin Harvick and Brad Case, so they got to battle it out. What I'm going to say now, I forgot about this until just now. I called it this past weekend. I said McDowell is a dark horse. He is able to get a win, and look what happened. McDowell got the dub. So I'm going to take that one to heart. I'm going to say, I told you so. But Daytona is anybody's game when it comes to drafting. It's just who who's going to be at the right place, right time, and it's like who's going to
You can
help.
have the most friends.
Yeah, who's going to help who out. So Bubba's got that Toyota Alliance. Suarez got the Chevy Alliance, and then Chase and Bowman are Chase and Bowman. Bowman's not had the best luck. I actually am looking at the piece of his first ever 48 Daytona car. I have a piece of it in my game room, podcast room, whatever you want to call it. I also got a piece of Justin Haley's IR or Indy road course race the first year when they ran it. But you don't give two shits. But anyways, yeah.
Not a huge NASCAR guy.
So there's that for the weekend. We kind of ran through it pretty quickly because our guest Steven Snyder, man, like I said, he's a great guy to have a conversation with.
Oh yeah.
I told you this before. I told Ryan. I expect like 30 minutes of their time. He almost gave us an hour, and I can't thank him enough. That it was just a fun time, fun conversation, and then just for him to have like be cool enough to have another conversation with us afterwards. Like he's a cool guy. I'm really impressed with his thought of racing. Like he is a big profit margin guy, and you don't think about that a lot in racing. You don't expect.
No, most people when they go racing, especially like in the 600s, they're just doing it for the fun of it.
Hmm.
Like you look at most of these people that show up to the tracks anyway, all they're here for is for fun. If they get a win, yippee. If they don't, we'll come back next week, shoot the shit.
Yeah, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it or enjoy it. I enjoyed it. Spicy. I'm gonna apologize. I did kind of hijack this interview, but
Oh, that's completely fine after hearing the last one.
uh,
So
I
it makes it easy on me.
um, so we're gonna play it right now for you guys. I really hope you guys enjoy. Spice, you got anything before we go there?
Nope, I ain't got nothing.
All right, I hope you guys enjoy. Here is our interview with Steven Snyder Jr. from Rising Sun, Maryland. Welcome to our interview section. We have a special guest coming from Rising Sun, Maryland. It's going to be Steven Snyder Jr. Just this year alone, he's got a small town throwdown, Outlaw Nationals, Terry Sprague Memorial, Circus City Dirt Cup, Action Track USA two-time feature winner, Greenwood Valley Action Track winner, Clyde Martin Memorial winner, Outlaw Non-Wing. He was 21st for the shootout. Stock
Oh,
Non-Wing, he was 11th. And then the past Chili Bowl, he was 11th in the B main. This is Steven Snyder Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
hello. That's me.
And then we got Spicy over here. We've been talking for a little bit. So what got you started in your racing career?
So I have an uncle. He raced quarter midgets. And he was probably, I don't know. I would say he was probably about 11, and I was right at 4.5. And his dad and my dad were good buddies, and he just told us that I should come try out for it's like a driving experience and quarter midgets. um, at this track that's like 45 minutes away. So they kind of told us about it, and my dad gave it some thought, and that was when I first stepped into a car, was a quarter midget, and I started that at like 4.5. So
Do they have a lot of quarter midget like tracks around Maryland?
actually, I don't think there's none in Maryland, but there's one in Delaware, and the Delaware line's only like 15 minutes, and the PA line is only like 5 minutes. So it's I live in like a pretty good area, so because there's racing all over the place. So when we raced there my first year, and then after that we started racing up in PA a lot more.
So you went from quarter midgets to micros, correct? Did you go to junior
Yes.
sprints or did you go straight to like what was that situation?
So there's actually no junior sprints around here. So yeah. So it was just like I raced quarter midgets until I was, I think, 13. I won 6 USAC national championships, which is kind of like the bigger thing
Yeah.
in quarter midgets. So I ran them for a very long time. And then I made the switch, I think, when I was 13 or 14 into micros. And we just went into straight, like, just non-wing micros, because that's like pretty much the basic thing here. Wings are big around here, but they're not like outlaw winged out there. It's just like, just something to do. And we just went into the non-wing, and we really focused on that.
So going from straight quarter midgets to like the big classes around most parts, like did you ever have any like were you hesitant to do that or were you just like let's go?
I I was seeing my friends move up that I race quarter midgets with, and I was my dad wanted to wait till like I wouldn't say mature enough, but until I was developed enough to where I wasn't gonna make stupid thoughts or decisions when I'm racing. So he I guess when he thought I was, old enough and ready to make the switch to do it, we did it. And there's this thing called Bug Day at Greenwood Valley Action Track, and we still kind of started there, and that was just like a practice day where you just go out there and run however many laps you want to run. I did that, and when I was going out, I never felt the feeling I've ever had. Like it was just so much butterflies, like right when you first hit the gas pedal, because driving something that has like 8 horsepower to something that has 160 is just like it's so different, and the feeling was totally different. But after that, I adapted and I loved it.
So did you jump right into a hyper, or were you into a different chassis?
Um, we well, when we made the switch to micros, we didn't really know what to get. Uh, there was there was this one guy, Andrew Laser. We were good friends with his dad, and his dad we called him and he told us, we need to talk to this guy named Michael Falsey, which he had a really good rental program at the time. So we reached out to him and he worked at Hyper, so he was able to find us. He was in a lot of groups because he was a welder at Hyper, so he had a lot of people he knew, and he found us this Hyper, and we started with that, and we never went to anything different because we've had so much success with it, and Hyper's only an hour and a half away from my house,
Yeah.
where like any other uh, chassis builder besides RTS is out west.
Yeah.
So
I'd say like in Indiana you have like Sawyer and Concept,
yes,
and Hyper's try and like invade it a
uh
little
huh,
bit.
yes,
But like you
yeah,
said, out in PA you have like that's ran by Hyper. I mean,
oh yes,
so you were straight Hyper from day one.
hmm
Now I've talked to people with different things with Hyper. Like, what's your favorite thing about Hyper? Like the cars itself, driving them.
I never drove anything else. It's just you know, I I make decisions in the car, like shock adjustments for say, or setup changes, and I don't know if it's the same for any other chassis, but when I make this like a small portion of a setup decision, I feel it and it works or it doesn't work. So there's for like a little amount that I do, I always feel something that changes. Even if it's bad, I know that okay, if I make this decision or change to the car, it's not the right decision, but I still felt something that's different from what I've been running every week.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's just everything that I've had with the hyper. I've never felt like, man, I can't get this thing to work. It's always been. I've always had much success with them. They always work for me. Me and my dad, really got them figured out.
I
So
say
it's just
now you're to the point where like, oh, like I need more shock here, or I need a tire
yes,
change, like pressure change here. Like, I mean,
mm,
running with them since you're 13 is going to give you that much of a edge on everybody else. I mean, I know him and
yeah,
I talked about the Sprague. Like, you're always in contention, but it's just like it's the luck thing with you.
yes,
You just
it's tough.
you find yourself in like some of the toughest positions. Like I remember the race in US24. Like
Yep, A class flash.
you had the fastest car there. Like everybody saw it, but it's just like you were found in these unlucky spots,
Yes.
and it's like
hmm
just. And I think the Sprague really kind of helped you get over that hump of bad luck. Because I feel like it's been a hot minute of like
Yes.
bad luck in big races, but I feel like
Mhm.
seeing you win, like I was excited for you. I mean, actually, after watching you at 24, like I knew you were gonna get a big win sometime, and it was nice to see you finally
Yeah.
get it. Going off of that, you won the KKM Give Back in
Yes.
2021.
Yep.
Explain how that worked, because like you got
The,
a chance to ride
the
with.
trophy's way back there.
There
If
you
you could
go.
see it, yes.
There you go.
Um, that was I would say the turning point of my whole life and racing career in general. that season, I think that was my third season. You know, I started to find like success just in general at like Action Track and Clyde Martin Memorial Speedway. So those two tracks that I've had much success at. I we won there, and I had a 3 win streak at Action Track, which is like nuts. So I had great success that year, and the owner of Hyper, Mike Dicely, came to me and my dad and was just like, "Hey, there's a big race in Port City. It's outlaw. I know you don't have a motor. Let me just put this motor in your car, and we'll take you out there, and we'll see what happens. Anything can happen." And we were all for it because it's just we only went to Circus City and US24. That's the farthest west that my dad and I have ever gone for with the team. And we made that decision to go down there, and I don't think Mike Dicely went. I think it was just Jim Radney and Alec Quick. And the first night, we were fast. It's just when you got so many fast cars, it's hard to make something happen. And I'll go to the Terry Sprague for as an example, because I would say you can be a top contending car, but when you got a track that's so hard like that and it's slick, and you really gotta just buy your time if you're on the bottom, or when you're on the top, you really, because there's so much stuff happens when the track is so slick. It takes time just to get around somebody, and I felt like that's what I was dealing with at Port City the first night. But the first night I made a dumb decision, and I did a slider line into the curb, and I never slowed my momentum up, and I flipped. So, I was kind of upset with that, and that put us like I think 8th in the B main, and me and my dad were just, thinking of like small things to do to the car to make it fast, and sure enough, we found something in the B main that was nuts, because we caught the leader and Thorson. Them two were just side by side, and I felt faster than them, but I could never make a opportunity happen. So, but that night they overwatered the track, so they had to do a whole bunch of track work, because I think we ended at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But I was scheduled to start 14th. Christopher Bell had other options. Yeah, with this Cup car. So I started 12th, and we went green, and the car felt very good because we just had the B main, and I was up to like, I think 6th by the first caution, and I see my dad give me the big thumbs up, like, meaning that like the car is really good, and I look, I'm contending with the group that's up front. So I think lap 30 or 40, the left front shock popped out, so out of the seal, so I know left front shock, but overall I think it was helping me get into the corners, because it would just drop the nose. I mean, I got to second, and one of the final restarts, I finally said, let me go to the bottom again, because that's how I made most of my hay down there. And I said, let me see if it just is going to work. Because Persley had so much momentum on the top that I just didn't think I could get around him. But we went green, and I don't think he was expecting to have this kid just tote the bottom. I don't think he was expecting it. And I kind of edged him out by like 2 or 3 laps when we went green, and I just kind of said to myself, I can't make no mistakes, because he's going to start overdriving eventually. I just got to hit my marks and just do what I've been doing the whole race. And sure enough, we had a caution with like 6 to go or 7 to go, and now I'm our red, and I see like this guy named Corey Lee Kelly, I see like up on the stands, and he's giving me a big thumbs up, and he's like, giving me a signal that I'm slowly inching away. And I'm like, oh man, we might win this thing. And then sure enough, we won. And it's just like, it was like an eye opener, because, it got my name out there, not just in 600 racing, but now midget racing. And, it just kind of, now people, I don't want to say it like cocky, but now people once know who you are, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like an eye-opening experience.
At that point, you were roughly 16, right?
Yeah, I was
To say,
16. Young kid like me, we didn't have any thoughts about winning the race. I think the owner of Hyper did, Mike Dicely. Because he gave me the motor, so I think after the season I had, I think he kind of hoped that I was going to win the race. And as a young kid like me, I uh, you know, wanted a midget or wanted to try a midget. All of us
yeah.
young kids have dreams of trying a midget or sprint car, and I really wanted to do that. So I did that. I picked the midget, hoping my dad wasn't going to be upset with me because that was a hefty amount of change. Um, I did that. And then we did the Chili Bowl, and that was for a driver that was very, I would say, emotionally on me. It was tough because it didn't go the way I planned.
Yeah.
Because I got DQ'd in the B main my prelim night. And then we got into that fight. Everybody knows about it. Everyone knows who I am now because of that. It is what it is. Things happen. Uh, it it kind of made me relook on life because I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I just killed my racing career. I'm never going to be able to do this other than micro racing. And my dad just said, things happen. He said, the 2022 year, he said, just let's just go in like we did last year and just see what happens.
Yeah.
So
I say that's a big like leap for a 16-year-old to go from
yeah,
micros 3 years into it
uh-huh.
to a Chili Bowl, and I mean, I can't even understand the mental stress, like you said,
Oh yes,
that it has
it
on
was
you.
like because I ran the shootout that year. That was my first ever time running the shootout. I made all qualifiers, and I was like one of 16 drivers. And finished fifth in stock non-wing that year. I think sixth or fifth, and I was stoked because I got laps around the track. I felt confident, but I never ran a midget.
Yeah.
And then we only got one practice session, and I felt good, but it's just like I would talk to Jay Drake, the driver helper, and I'm just like, I don't know what I really need to do because I don't know. I've never ran one, so they helped me out as much as they could, but it just I feel like I needed more laps before going into the Chili Bowl. But I'm the one that signed up for that. And I mean I'm not changing the way things went because I mean I drove a KKM car. That's
Yeah.
like not many people get to do
Yeah.
that, especially at the Chili Bowl. So it
So
was.
your first year
Go
of the
ahead. Sorry.
shootout, you're fine. The first year of the shootout was the first year you drove Chili Bowl too.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nuts.
That's
That's
yeah, it was
nuts.
pretty nuts because it's just everything happened. I told my dad like once we won that race, like everything changed.
Yeah.
It just because we never had thoughts of going out to the just not even going to the Chili Bowl, but not even going to the shootout. Like because the expenses are outrageous
Yeah.
to go down there. And the way I see it now is I try to race to make a profit. So
Yeah.
you ain't making a profit, but that golden driller.
Yeah.
It's a golden driller. Everybody wants one. So
I say I mean, I don't have a lot of friends that have won one, but I can say I've seen one. It's like you see that and you're like, man, like
yeah,
just
you want
having
one.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, your first year at the shootout, I think that was the first year I ever heard of you because they made it flow. He's going to run KKM and everything.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, did the 2022 season, was that your first year as a house car for Hyper?
Um, I was in the house card. Oh wait, at the end of 2022 season, yes.
Okay.
At the end of the season, I think we went to Texas. That was the debut of that car.
For the seasonal
Um,
thing?
yes. Uh-huh. We plan to go back this year. I'm really looking forward to that event because Jim Radney, the guy I drove for, he won it last year. The guy I drove for at the Terry Sprague, he won it last year with Kyle Larson, and they have the trophy set up in the room, and I mean, it's like a dream trophy, the
Yeah.
way they have it, and I hope it's kind of the same because, like, I told my dad that's the only race I want to win this year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we ran. We have a personal car the 2022 season, and we ran into a problem. Like, I finished second to Brian Carver at the big dance
Hmm.
that year. We ran into a problem that if we were gonna go run the Texas race, we got to leave a car down. We have to leave the car down there because we had nobody to drive the truck and trailer back for Hyper. And Mike Dicely came to me and was like, "Hey, what do you think about if I put a car together? Maybe if we can hit these big races and you can keep racing back home because back home during that time we had two or $3,000 shows. So, and I felt really confident in myself that I can win them. So, he gave me the opportunity to drive the house car, and we won our first night in our prelim, which was nuts because I've never. This car is not your normal Hyper. We have a different W link size and things like that on it, and it's just to go out and win the first night with it. Even though it rubbered up, which unfortunately it did, but it's still like I won a prelim night on my first night with this new car, and then I made not a driver error, just setup error because it's a coil car and I was switched over to coils this year, and the coil is hard compared to a 4-bar car, and I get not confused, but I just couldn't find. It's hard to find the happy medium with it, and so we had that car, and then we ran it down for the KKM, and then the shootout. So
I imagine winning the 2022 Hyper Speed Week kind of was a good audition for you for that into 2022 house ride.
Yeah.
Being 18, like I know, like Grayson Springer just went from a D1 to a Hyper.
Yes.
And that's your backup car, right? Or was one of your backup cars?
Oh, no, that was actually a car that was at Hyper, and it was just sitting there, and I guess Mike and the Springer family, got together, and they made the switch, and I mean that kid's been on a tear with that car. He had bad luck at the Terry Sprague, but I mean he is gonna, I feel like, do really good for this A-class race coming up there.
I've had conversations with them, and I mean, just like you said, like he gets in and he feels like he's just that much better. He says he feels like it drives for him, everything. Like I've had good conversations with him, and like he says Hyper has a lot of good like support for him too. Like he can message anybody and get back to him. So having a team behind you like that, like how prepared are you mentally after like your downfall at the Chili Bowl, if you want to call it a downfall, and then being able to have that like confidence from other people?
So that happened. I think my mom deleted Facebook that night because she was so she's never seen just the hateful comments, and I told her, it happens, like, so I was down on myself, but I had my dad to really just say, it happens, and all you got to do is just look at the next season and get ready for that, because if you carry this, say, downfall into the 2022 season, it's just you're not gonna be yourself, him and my grandmother, my grandmother always pushes me to be the best I can with my ability I have. So they just pushed me, and then then Mike Dicely, he came on the scene, and things happen, and he's always been in my corners ever since we got into Hyper, and Mike is just a great person to have in my corner because if I say I do make a mistake, he'll still be there supporting me. I have a feeling. So it's great to have him, and like my dad, once my dad saw that happened, and once we got our first win in the 2022 season, he's just said, I think you're back to what you're normal. Like, you're not thinking about that, because back home everyone's calling me, that guy that just cleans everybody out because I just cleaned out the guys out the Chili Bowl. But what are you gonna do? You got to look at the next race, and that's kind of what they pushed me to do, and things just fell in my favor.
So let's go back to the KKM stuff. Like, is it as like superior as everybody says it is?
Hold on, I think my dad's getting a phone call. Sorry, I'm right next to his computer. I'm gonna decline. Sorry about that. Yeah, like it's just I was never a show up and just drive driver. I've always worked on my own stuff. To go into like a midget that I don't know, I trust. I put 110% into their equipment, but it's also like I've never driven a midget. I don't know what I'm expecting, but just to be in that, you know, group with the people that was there, had like Rico, and he came over and talked to me, and Chris Ravel came over and talked to me and said congrats on the win, you deserved it and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So it's definitely like you definitely feel like you're a different, I wouldn't say different driver, but you feel different when you're walking into the pits knowing that you're driving for KKM because they have such great equipment, and the drivers that drove for them, you see where they are now.
Yeah.
And as a kid like me, you're like, man, if I can really um, do something right here, it could change my life.
Yeah. So like moving forwards, what are your plans? Are you planning on getting more midget rides? Are you planning to hang around the micro scene longer, or what's the plans going forward?
So I ran the Chili Bowl this year for Chase McDermott, his own car, but Mount Stouts was on the side of it because they support him and they gave us the motor. So I drove for them this year at the Chili Bowl. I got a phone call afterwards for sprint car racing. I did a little sprint car racing for Hefner Racing, which is one of the, I would say, a really big 410 team around here. I didn't do any 410 racing for the main car. They had a South version that Briggs Danner drove for. Well, Briggs and him parted ways, and the crew chief on it, Kurt Michael, called me, and I did a little bit of that, and then I got fired from that too. You know, just um, just driving over my head. I would say, I've only did two races in that. I did a fifth and a sixth, and then we went 410 racing, and I never did a 410 before, and I junked it at the Grove, and then after that we had another wreck, and after that wreck it was, they kind of looked onwards with their decision, and they didn't want me. So then I told my dad and Mike Dicely, I said, let's set the micro world on fire this year. I think we can do it. We got the equipment too, the knowledge too, so let's do that. And that's my plan for this year. Just try to win every big race, and just even race back home. I'm trying to win every race as I can. With the, not say pickle I'm in, but I feel like I kind of, you got hiccups in your career, and right now, with getting fired from the sprint car ride, I feel like no sprint car rides want a driver that just has that happen. So, and I know, like my dad and I cannot fund a 410 team or a 360 team. Just say if I did last year, I did 70 some races in a micro. We can't even get nowhere near close to that because, you're spending
Mm-hmm.
$45,000 to $75,000 on a motor. It's just
I
absurd. So,
I think I saw
you
somewhere
know,
where so they said like they unload and it's like $6,000 out of their
yes,
pocket.
it's nuts, ain't it?
Yeah. I will
And
say
I don't.
sorry, but I will say for you being 18 and thinking of the profit side, like that goes to show the mentality that you have. Like
Yeah,
you're there to win and you're there to do it as efficient as
yeah,
possible.
um, yeah. I trying to make this a living right now.
Yeah.
I just got out of school, so I um trying to get the ride to where right now I'm telling people I feel like I have the abilities to do it. I just need to find that middle man to take me to the next step. And I found him a few times, but it just never finished. And I feel like I just need to find that middle man that's just going to stay by my side to push me to the next step. Um, so I plan to do the Chili Bowl this year again. And I kind of look forward. I'm looking forward to running more sprint cars if I have the opportunity, which um, no really opportunities opened yet.
Yeah.
So, but I told Mike Dicely, this is my main focus is micros to finish out this year, kick butt in this, and anything can happen next year. So, but I mean, in general in racing, I still plan to race micros because the amount of money in them, man, it is like crazy.
Hmm.
I'm not saying you don't spend a lot to go out to these West races, but um, I've won a lot of money this year, with the micros, and I'm just trying to keep building that up. And I feel like, if hopefully if I can get, like, just in general, any driver, if you get your name out there
Yeah.
like far out, I feel like there's always that person that wants to take you to the next step. So, um, and that's just what I feel like I'm waiting on right now.
In reality, too, it just kind of takes one race, too. One
Yeah.
big
Uh-huh.
race, one good race, and like, who knows? Like the end of this Chili Bowl season, who knows? You might have more opportunities because of where 2023 went and everything else. So, are you
Yeah.
planning on racing more midgets, or is it just trying to go sprint car?
I really want to run a midget. They were actually just in PA, and uh, it's just when you don't have a big enough sponsor to where that is going to pay just that money that you got to pay to try to just to get a ride that night. It's tough, So I really want to keep doing midgets if I have the opportunity. It's just it all comes down to the money at the end of the day with that.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying in sprint cars either, but the way the midget scene is right now, it's a lot of money to
Hmm.
just for say if it's 5 grand a night, you're paying and you want to do 30 races. I mean, there you go. Look
It's a
at the
lot.
money you're going to spend. Um, so I really like Chase McDermott. When I drove the Chili Bowl for him, I went to his house. We built the whole midget there within, I was still in school that time, so
Yeah.
it was over my Thanksgiving break. I didn't even get to see my parents on Thanksgiving because I was, you know, out
Dedication.
there with the out there with the McDermotts, putting a midget together for the Chili Bowl. And I feel like Chase is, always pushing me to be the best I can because we talk on a daily, and I just hope things can work out to where I'll be able to drive uh, for him for the hopefully for the Chili Bowl or in the future.
So, in the micro world, we all know like you got the Frank Floods and you got the Carver. When you roll into the track, who sets the bar for you?
Um, what do you mean by that question?
Like when you roll in the track, you're like, man, I know I have to be at least like to be at this person's speed to have a chance.
So I would say it's my dad and this guy named and the car owner of the car I drove for, Jim Radney. Um, you know, my dad, unfortunately, he has his own drywall business, so he can't come to every out west race there is. So when he can't, I would say Jim's that stone that pushes, like that person that pushes me to be my best because um he has a lot of faith in me, and he believes that I'm able to win these big races, and he just does nothing and just forces me to, this you can do it, man. Just don't worry about what's gonna happen. He's like, but just think about you're gonna have fun and you're able to win these races. And Jim just is there, and I have fun. He doesn't put no stress. I'm never stressed when I'm at the track with him. So when we roll in, it feels good because I don't have no stress. If we mess up the first night, there's the second night to make to be better, and he's okay with having a bad night. He understands. Like when we were out at the I think it was the Hoosier Dirt Cup
Yeah.
race that week. Okay, um, we won Circuit City, and then we were at Rush County the next night, and I mean I destroyed his car, and
Yeah.
I've the way I am thinking, like, man, I think I could have won, but I just put myself in a bad position to where maybe we might not even go to Sweet Springs now because I just destroyed the whole car.
Yeah.
And that night we put the whole car together. He said, I'm glad you're all right. We'll get it fixed and we'll go to Missouri. And we went out to Missouri, and it's tough to having two classes a night, I would say, at Missouri because, I'm a very hard driver. If I make a mistake, I'm mad at myself. And Jim and my dad were there, and they, were just like, you got to think about the next race. It happened. You're starting wherever you start. You have the cards to win. Just forget about it and focus on the next one. So I would say that, Jim and my dad put the bar high to where so I try to have I have the ability to win. They put it high, so we can beat Frank Flood or Brian Carver, um, and they support me. They give me the push that I need to get over the bar. So they're definitely the big stepping stones.
So you go to a lot of big races. Who would you say your biggest rival is when it comes to on the track?
I don't know. I kind of just I have respect for everybody on the track. Uh, it's just I like to if I'm gonna win, I want to win. Show them that I didn't do this or do that just to get around you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I try to when we won at the Terry Sprague, I asked the official how many lap cars I had in between me and the guy in second because Carroll just flipped and he gave me you have a few, um, but I still tried to give it my 110% even
Yeah.
though I was in the lead. But I would definitely say Harbor is definitely my biggest competitor. We're I would say we're best friends out like not on the track, but when we are in the pits, I mean, he pushes me. He's pushed me when I finished second or when I was racing him once. He I wrecked out, but we were battling for the lead, and he came over to me and he said, "Kid, you're pretty good. I have a lot of respect for you." And then we raced at US24 that other year, and I finished second to him. It sucked getting beat by him, but I mean, he is so smart. He pushes you to be your best,
Hmm.
and I feel like every time he is on the track with the equipment he has right now, he's the guy to beat. And I feel like it's just he's very fun to race with. So I would say him. I like uh, when Kyle Larson runs.
Hmm.
I ran him twice or three times. I think two times in Texas. But he wrecked out the one night, and then I raced him at this track called Linda Speedway once, and we raced side by side for like 6 laps on this rubber down track, and we put a show on, and
Yeah.
like everybody loved it. But he and Kyle is another very good driver to where he thinks of racing as a chess match,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm trying to do right now. And the stuff he did to make him get around me that day was like things I never would have thought of. So he's definitely one to race. That's fun to race with. But I would definitely say Brian for sure. He's so fast everywhere he goes, and
Yeah.
he knows how to get in people's head. Um, and he's and we're so buddies. So when we race, we give ourselves that 110% of
Yeah.
respect out there that we shouldn't be giving, but we do, and it's fun to race against him because just for them reasons.
Yeah. I say it's got to be big coming from a guy like Carver saying like he gives respect to you. Like that's got to
Yes.
be a big thing for you. What is your what is your favorite track to go to? If you see it on your calendar, you're just like, yes, I can't wait. What track is that for you?
Um. Oh, man, I don't hate any tracks really. Um. I have a lot of fun at Lanco, Clyde Martin. Action track is very fun because it's so racy around us. Uh, but out west, I really like Texas the final night. That was really fun. I like SIR.
Yeah.
It's a bull ring. It puts on some good racing when it's a good track. I really want to go out to California and try them tracks because I
Yeah.
think them tracks will change my opinion on racetracks. Just because how different they are. You see all the good drivers that come out of California,
Hmm.
and that's kind of one of like my bucket list things is go out there and compete against them guys. Not just in not just in any racing, but I just to go out there and race in a micro against them guys, or them sprint cars guys are nuts out there. They're amazing. So um, I feel like out there would be cool. But I would say one of my favorite was probably Circuit City. Unfortunately, even though it just shut down. I know you guys US24 don't like
No,
that track much.
hey. Well,
Um,
I like Circus City.
um, but me and my dad went out there one year, and it was just me and my dad, so I wasn't with Hyper. But I had a Hyper chassis. and we went to this big show, and I was in the lead on the prelim night, and I just kind of fell in love with it. It was a big curve. The bottom was there. You throw massive sliders on this flat track that just shouldn't put on this type of racing because it's so weird.
Yeah.
The track is, and that was a fun track. I was kind of glad I got the win there that night before it shut down.
They shortened that too for
They
the.
did. I know.
Yeah.
I hopped the curb the last going into 1 and 2 because I was so thrown off because
Yeah.
I'm racing and the car started not to get away from me, but I was about to make adjustments to make it better. And I look up and I get like the white flag, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
What?
was I sleeping?" Like I don't recall this, but that happened. US24 puts on good racing. At Track Worker, the flagger.
JP.
Oh yes, I love that guy. I have a funny story about that guy. Actually, we're racing. I don't know if this is like normal, but in my opinion, tracks around here don't do this. We're about to go green, and I see him got the cigarette in his mouth and giving us the one to go, and I'm like, "What in the world? Like, this guy is nuts!" And for that, and like that clay there, is super weird. Like, just him going around on that little truck to sprinkle the track, like, and that thing is barely putting out any water, and it makes the track like 3 times better.
Yeah.
And I like every track we go to because I'm very special to drive for Hyper, and they give me the opportunity to go to these tracks, and they're always different, and that's what I like about them, and that's why I like them all. Because around here, we got Linda Speedway that doesn't really build a curb, and it takes rubber, unfortunately, usually by the end of the night. And then we got Clyde Martin that, PA tracks aren't known for a curb, and that's the only track that gets a curb around here. And it's right against the fence, action track. There's a bottom, a middle, and a top, and the top is not even a curb. It's just little moisture up there that makes you fast. So, and then we go out west, and there's curbs that are foot high, and it's just, they're fun. Everything's different.
Well, I super appreciate you coming on and joining us. Spicy, you got anything?
I was just gonna ask. So, from going from, running your own personal car and going to that hyper team car, did you feel like you learned more stuff to do to the car from the people there?
So actually, I actually am like always working on that house car. So I'm always at Hyper with that car, getting it ready for these big races. There are Nash Ely, the fuel injection guy, and this guy named Chris Heckendorn, and he put the car together for me. But when I'm there, me and Chris and Jim Radney, we just work on the car, talk to each other, try to do things that can make us better on the car. And then Mike Dicey, the smartest man on earth, he puts like, for the race around here, I have 8 shock adjusters in the car, which is absurd. Yeah. So, he is always learning, and then telling me. So I'm always learning from one of the greats, I would say, in micro racing. And it's just, and I feel like that's also why I feel like when we go out west, we have great success because Mike is so smart, and he's been there, and he has a backstory of it, and he is just always thinking of what I can do better to the car.
So I have a question. Hold on, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Spicy. So I was talking to somebody, and they say that that guy like goes off the grid for like 4 months at a time when it comes to like building the new car. Is that like a true thing?
I mean, for me, all I gotta do is send him a text, and he responds like that. But I don't know how it is for some other people. But I mean, when he was getting the Hyper website, I think I would say, dedicated his life to get this website this nice.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't really come to the track so much, but he would just put that in his number one priority, is making this website so nice. So you would barely see him at a track. He would come every once in a while. Like, I think this was I would say, a year and a half ago. He really focused on this website, and like you would like never really see him at the track because he was so dedicated onto this website.
You're sorry, Spicy. Go ahead.
And then I was going to say, with all that help you received from Team Hyper, have you gone through then and implemented that back onto your personal car with all that extra knowledge you've gained from them?
Yeah, actually, for the Speed Week this year, I think it was um, probably I would say the hardest week of racing I've ever had. The first night I'm in a new car, so a new chassis, everything's new, and we went out the first night with my old setup, and I rocked it. We got quick time, and then it rained, and then I went to the second night, and I'm gonna say I honestly felt like I was just a car that was just a filler, and I hate to put it that way, but I never really struggled the way I struggled, because I would say everyone else was just getting their act together, and I felt like I wasn't, and that's when I came to Jim Radney, and I told him, I don't know really what to do, and I'm stressed, and he told me what to do to the car, and it would work. And then, the last 2 nights, I finally said, I'm going to focus on getting my old car together that I finished second to at Bryan at the US24 that year. So I had that car. I put that car together, and I was battling for the lead for 10,000 at Lanco, and the wheel center broke. It blew apart. So yeah,
Again,
and then we went to
bad
yeah.
lugs.
And that week was probably the hardest week. And then that's when the next week is when we went to the Terry Sprague. And Jim did nothing but made me watch Mamba videos on the way out. Kobe Bryant, David Goggins, we just watched videos and focused. And he said, dude, forget about it. You can win. Like, it's a bad week. Everybody happens. It doesn't explain your whole season. 1 week doesn't.
Yeah.
So we went out there, won that, and I'm like, okay, Jim, I need help with my personal car because we went back to the new car for Action Track the next couple weeks. He gave me a shock to try and gave me a setup, and that setup is working everywhere I've been to. So it's crazy how what my old stuff to this new car just doesn't work, and that's what I found surprising. And that's where I would say Team Hyper comes in clutch because they're helping me getting better with my personal stuff.
Spicy, you all good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Well, we super appreciate you coming on. Where are you going to be at the next couple of weeks?
My personal car, I'm gonna be at Action Track this Wednesday and Sunday. That's another thing. Unfortunately, like I would say, you guys out west, you only got one track. You only race on a Saturday. And I feel like that gives the guys like in PA a better advantage than you guys. Because you guys only race on a Saturday per se.
Yeah.
I think US24 started racing on Fridays too.
They're gonna start doing
Was
it
that
here.
just
They're gonna start doing it because of points night.
okay?
We had like what, a whole month of rainouts.
Rain.
So
Okay,
yeah.
so where we get to race Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So like it's just yeah. If I want to do 4 nights of racing one night or 1 week, we'll do it. But we'll go to Action Track this week. And then I have a sister in college in University of Tampa. So next week I'm gonna take off and go down and see her because she's about to start school. Then after that, that's when the money a month September comes, and the first week we race at Lanco, Saturday and Sunday for Labor Day. It's called the Labor Day Shootout, and then after that we go to Missouri, Texas, and then the Deuce is Wild. So
Can't. I won't be there on Saturday because of the stupid wedding, but I'll be there Thursday, Friday. I look forward to seeing you there.
How does that work? Is it like a 4-day show?
So Thursday, I believe they're doing one of the wing or non-wing. Friday's wing or non-wing show, and then Saturday's both.
Okay, that's what I thought it was because like me and Jim are just thinking like,
Yeah.
man, I feel bad for JP. Is that the track worker?
Yeah.
I feel bad for that man because I have a feeling I think we're gonna get, I would say 200 cars a class. I would say close to when there's that much money online, like
It's going to be a lot of
People
people
will
there.
come. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say maybe 200, but like I have a feeling it's going to be close to what like not close to shootout numbers, but it's going to be like shootout. You know,
Yeah.
people.
People will
There's
come where
that
the
much
money
money on.
is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep. Exactly. That's what I'm getting to. So I was kind of thinking, close to 150 cars in each class, and you're just going to have to work your butt off.
Well,
Because
we had 189 this past weekend on Saturday.
like that's nuts.
That broke
And
the record. The record was 165, and now it's at 189.
so like when you have that much money on the line, I have a feeling, you have people that just want to come. And when you're racing two of the same classes, um, people are okay. I'm gonna go race because I get
Yeah.
two chances. That's
And
what they're thinking.
you're a
Oh,
profit margin guy. You make it in the race, you make your money back in almost double if you just make it
yeah.
into the big race.
I haven't pre-registered, so
Yeah.
I think it's like $500.
Yeah.
So which is I'm not gonna say crazy because it's only 400 for the shootout. So like you're only spending $100 more, and you're gonna make your money back.
Is the
You
shootout
know.
only one class too? That it's 400?
The shootout. No, it's all of them. They're all 100. So if you do
Okay.
four, then you're spending 400.
Okay.
Um, and so it's just you know I kind of thinking about it like the profit way that you do. So it's just
So
when we go to these tracks, I try to make money.
the prelim night to win it's $2,222. To make it is just 202. And then just to be in the feature of the classes, you're getting $1,000. So
That's good.
you double
Uh,
your money on Saturday if you make it into the
yeah,
big race.
it's gonna be tough. I'll tell you that, man. And the track worker, man, I hope he knows that there's water in my trailer if he needs it, because I feel like he's gonna need it because he is gonna be busting his butt all week. So,
I know Jim and Dev bust their
um,
butt all the time. So I mean,
oh yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
they'll
Um, yeah, a lot of um acknowledgement goes to them too. I know I was just saying just JP, but the work that they put in to have us a great facility and the track, you know, we never complain when we go out there because the track's always good and it puts on good
yeah.
racing. So, um, I'm sure it's gonna be the same way for these big money races. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it happens.
Just might have to have people park on the pond. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
Like,
189, it was packed in the pits. Like I was in the pits for a little bit doing some social media work for Ryan at Dirt2Media,
uh,
and like I got claustrophobic. Like you went up to watch the fence, and you had to stand like 3 rows back behind people. It was packed, and the stands in the front. It was everybody was in the front. It was packed. I mean, it's good to see, but also bad
uh,
because we get all those people because of Circus City closing down. But at the same time, it's like Jim and Deb are getting a good payoff of all the
uh,
work that they put into it.
yeah, yep. Yeah, I'm gonna. I think Hyper kind of parks up front in that front row.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna get my dad a pair of binoculars so he can just sit on the top of the trailer and just watch me from there.
I
So,
would honestly, but
uh,
again, we super appreciate you coming on. It was a great conversation that we were able to have. I look forward to seeing you at the track. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so I wish you the best of luck the rest of the year. Spice, you got anything?
Thank you.
Oh, just once again, good luck for the rest of the year, and I hope to see you maybe do have better luck at the Chili Bowl this year.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we'll need it. We'll see what happens.
Alrighty. And that I don't know what to say, but that was awesome. I can't speak enough of how fun that was. I just really hope him the best of luck. I'm happy to see him fight back after that whole Chili Bowl incident. I like I said last night, I tried to hint around. I didn't really want to. I didn't know how people want to talk about stuff like that. I tried to go around it, but he was cool enough to talk about it, have a conversation about it, and I think he grows more and more when he talks about it. But that was Steven Snyder Jr. from Rising Sun. That is going to be it for us for this episode of the Pit Boss podcast. Next week we have a former sprint car driver, and he's back in the 600 scene. That's my guess for you guys. Um, the guy that's driving or letting him drive his car was on last week, so you guys are gonna have to give a guess. Monday we're gonna shoot out some guessers. If you get it right, maybe we'll draw your name out of a hat and you get a spicy sticker. Huh?
It'd be fun doing it.
All right. How about that? How about a little competition? You guys can guess. Wednesday we're gonna draw a winner for last guess, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So put down your guys' guess on Facebook. We're gonna send out a teaser on Monday on who it is. I think I got the perfect video that I made. We'll see how that goes. But this week on Dirt2Media, you got the National Open Wheel 600 Series at Jefferson County Speedway. You got the Weld Memorial at Lakeside Speedway. You have the Hardy Hoagland Memorial. Is it Hoagland or Hoagland?
I think Hoagland.
Hoagland Memorial at US24. That's on Saturday. National Open Series at Jefferson County. Brownstown Speedway, Salem Speedway. Those are all on Dirt2Media. Um, I'm excited to see where this thing goes, man. I have talked to Ryan a couple times about doing live shows. I'm pumped. So hopefully we keep this rolling. Hopefully Spicy and I can be with you guys on Wednesdays. I want to appreciate you guys for coming and watching. And I'm going to say this. I've never felt more welcomed at the track now because I walked in the pit Saturday and I had people that didn't even know me like, "Oh, hey, like I saw the podcast. I liked the podcast. I enjoyed it." And I was just like, "Man, like I wasn't expecting this. Like I don't expect to be known at the track in general except for our little group, but just like having people say it, like I was like, "Man, like I really appreciate it. Like I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys continue." So you see me at the track, don't be afraid to say hi. I had a buddy tell me once that I looked like a scary bear when I was working, but just come say hi. I'll say hi back. Maybe if you say hi to Spicy whenever he's at the track now, which I mean might be rare with his
It
college,
definitely will be rare.
but maybe we can get some Spicy merch. I'm hoping we get merch soon. I did talk about that with Ryan
Oh,
too. So,
that'd be cool.
but be on the lookout for all that. Be on the lookout for our teaser. Like I said, old sprint car driver. Not really old. I mean, he's younger than me and you. Um, he's gonna be on here next week. I look forward to seeing you guys. Spicy, you got anything?
Nope, I ain't got nothing else except maybe keeping it spicy.
You guys have a good rest of your week.